For the first day of writing equations of a line in standard form, we're going to work specifically on what it means to go from one form to a standard form. So our objective today is really going to be to find the equation. You spent the last chapter giving the equation graphing. Now we're going to work our way in reverse, and we're actually going to find the equation that represents a line. And it's important to remember that when we say a line, what we mean is an infinite number of ordered pairs. It's not just the ordered pairs that appear at the crosshairs. It's an infinite number of pairs that are infinitely dense between any 2 points. So let's start with just an example of what we're going to do. This is the example. This is kind of the most basic one. If I give you a slope and a y-intercept. So let's say that I tell you that the slope is 4 and the y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, -6. Slope is 4 and y-intercept is the ordered pair 0, -6. I want to get an equation of this line. So I know that I can start with y is equal to mx plus b. That's slope-intercept form. And it's important for you at this point to know that this is slope-intercept form. We used this in the last chapter, but now we really need to be naming it slope-intercept form. And I know that from the information I gave that m is equal to 6 and b is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. B is -6. So if I just substitute y is equal to 4 times x minus 6, then I have an equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Now the topic today has to do with putting this in standard form. So we're not done yet with this problem. What I need to do is I need to get the x and the y on the same side. So I can do that by subtracting 4x from both sides. And I'm going to get -4x plus y is equal to -6. Now you'll notice that with standard form, I'm putting the x term first. We're going to keep this in alphabetical order. I'm going to put the x term first. I'm also going to make sure that x is positive, or that my coefficient of the x is positive. So I'm not done quite yet. What I want to do is multiply both sides by a -1 and change all the signs. This is considered standard form, and what makes it a standard is that every one of you should be able to get exactly the same standard form. So we have to create a few rules in order for that to happen. We got x and y on the same side. We put the x term first, and we made sure that x is positive. And there's a couple of other rules that we'll work on here. So I want to introduce this idea that this standard form, ax plus by equals c, occurs when a, b, and c are all integers, no fractions in this. A, b, and c are all lowest terms, which will show an example of where that has to happen, and a is positive. Those are the 3 conditions that we have for standard form. Just to put right below standard form, remember we also now have slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b, where m is equal to the slope and b is the y-intercept. So we have 2 forms of a line. Let's look at a second example. This is just going to be, can you write y is equal to -2/3 x plus 1/7 in standard form. This is slope-intercept form, but I want to change the form to standard form. Well, since I know that I can't have any fractions in standard form, I might as well multiply the left side and the right side by a least common denominator. I'm going to do that by a least common denominator of 21 because I have 3 and 7. So I get 21y equals, and if I multiply negative 2/3 times 21, I'm going to get negative 14x plus, and then if I multiply 21 times 1/7, I get 3. Then I'm going to add 14x to both sides, and on the left side I get 14x plus 21y is equal to 3. 14, 21, and 3 are all lowest terms, so that is a standard form. Now, sometimes we are given, let's not make this number 3, if I'm given a slope and any point, so I'm not just given the y-intercept, I'm given any point, which we'll call x sub 1, y sub 1, or x1, y1. So to do that, I have to introduce a third form of the line. This is called point-slope form, and in some ways it is the most important form of the line that you're going to use, because it lets you take any point and any slope and make a line. This point-slope form comes from the definition of slope. I know that slope is equal to the change in y over the change in x. Well, if I just do a little cross-multiplying of this and multiply m, let's kind of think about it this way. Let me rewrite this as m over 1 equals, I'm going to make this y minus y1 over x minus x1. If I cross-multiply, I actually get y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. This is point-slope form. This you need to memorize immediately. I don't want to wait on this and say you need to memorize it like in a couple of days. You need to memorize this immediately. In fact, knowing all three forms of the line is going to be incredibly important to doing well in this section. All three need to be committed to memory. This one can be especially difficult, but it doesn't have to be if you just work on it right now. What's important to note is that this m is still the slope. This x1 and y1 is any ordered pair, and this is incredibly easy to use when you know how to use it. So here's an example of how we use it. Let's say that I want to find the equation of a line that passes through 2, -7 with a slope of -2 over 5. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this form, y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1, and I'm going to substitute into that form some different things. I'm going to substitute the slope of -2/5. I'm going to substitute an x1 of 2, and I'm going to substitute a y1 of -7. If I substitute all of that, y minus a -7 equals -2/5 times x minus 2. I actually have the form of a line right now. I just need to clean it up and put it in standard form. But this is a correct equation. Let's simplify it. Y plus 7 is equal to, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this, -2/5 x plus 4/5. I want to get it to standard form, so I actually want to multiply both sides by an LCD of 5, clear the fractions. So I have 5y plus 35 is equal to -2x plus 4. Add 2x to both sides, and I get 2x plus 5y plus 35 is equal to 4. Subtract 35 from both sides, and then I get 2x plus 5y equals -31. And this matches ax plus by is equal to c. This is now a standard form. And that's what I want you to do, is to be able to go from the starting point, any starting point, and end up in a correct standard form for the line. Sometimes you might be given the equation of a line that's kind of in a point-slope form, like y plus 6 is equal to 5/4 x minus 11 halves, and what I would want you to do is just state the slope and any coordinate? Well, the slope, again, is this thing. It's the coefficient of the x. And my coordinates are going to come from these two numbers here. But I need to be careful about the signs, because again, point slope form is y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. So I know that the slope would be 5/4. What I need to look at is, what is my x sub 1? It says x minus x sub 1, and this is x minus 11 halves. My x sub 1 would be 11 halves. Y sub 1, y minus y sub 1 is occurring right here, and here it's y plus 6. Well, that's not the right sign. So in order for y sub 1 to kind of reflect that y minus y sub 1, this actually has to be a negative 6. Because then if I plug negative 6 in, I get y minus a negative 6, and that would be y plus 6, which is what I'm seeing right there. Summarizing, slope is 5/4, and an ordered pair, remember an ordered pair is another name for a coordinate, is 11 halves negative 6. So that would be a correct answer for that problem. Let's say I wanted to write number 4, so write the previous problem in standard form. Well, to do that, I can let's just copy it down. Y plus 6 is equal to 5/4 times x minus 11 halves. Before I pick an LCD, I've kind of got a 5/4 here and 11 halves here, and if I distribute that, that's going to be some eighths. So let's just go ahead and do that. Y plus 6 is equal to 5/4 x minus, and this is 55 over 8. Now I'm going to pick a least common denominator of 8 so I can clear the fractions, and I get 8y plus 48 is equal to 10x minus 55. Subtract 10x over, and I get negative 10x plus 8y. Then if I subtract 48 over, this is going to be equal to negative 103. I don't want to leave my leading term negative. I've got to change that. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1 and get 10x minus 8y is equal to positive 103. And that is a final correct answer in standard form. Lastly, if I'm given 2 points, for instance, let's say that I have let's say that I want to find the equation of a line in standard form that passes through 2, negative 1, and negative 5, positive 3. Well, my first step, I'm going to kind of lay this out for you, is to find the slope. I'm not given the slope, I need to actually find it. Slope is equal to change in y over change in x. So I'm going to go negative 1 minus 3 over 2 minus a negative 5, or negative 1 minus 3 over 2 plus 5, or negative 4/7. Step B is to choose a point. You can choose either of these 2 points. It doesn't actually matter which one you choose, because you're going to get the same equation whichever one you choose. So let's just choose the first one. We'll choose 2, negative 1. Then once I've chosen that, this is kind of a little silly, but circle the slope and the point. So I'm going to circle this and circle that, and those are the only 2 things I'm going to use in my next step. Step D, write out, increase the thickness of this, write out point slope form. Y minus y1 is equal to slope times x minus x1, and substitute. So y minus a negative 1 is equal to, slope is negative 4/7 times x minus 2, or y plus 1 is equal to negative 4/7 times x minus 2. Step E is to convert to standard form. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this. Negative 4/7 x plus 8/7. Because I'm working in sevenths, what I want to do is clear the fraction, so I'm going to multiply with an LCD of 7, and I get 7y plus 7 equals negative 4x plus 8. Then I'm going to add 4x to both sides. I'm also going to subtract 7 from both sides, and I would get 4x plus 7y is equal to 1, and that is a standard form for the equation. So to kind of summarize, because your homework is going to be a worksheet, but the three things you really need to know and learn cold are slope-intercept form, and that's y is equal to mx plus b, standard form, and that's capital AX plus capital BY is equal to capital C, where A, B, and C are all integers in lowest terms and A is positive. And finally, point slope form. It is named because it takes a point and a slope. So that is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. This must be committed to memory. And we're done.